this is what mid-April in Toronto looks like. I've been trying to open my frunk here, but it's frozen shut. So I'm trying to get this open and get this show on the road. Yep, this is what we're dealing with. I popped it open from the inside, but there's no way I'm getting it open. This is mid-April, April 14th. My name is Dimitri, and this is Cars in Cars. In today's video, I'd like to focus on the Porsche 944. This is of course inspired by my last video where I met a 944 owner at a gas station and we chatted a little bit about his car. The Porsche 944 was built between 1982 and 1989, and then the S2 version was subsequently built up until 1991. The Porsche 944 came in two versions, the naturally aspirated and a turbo version. The 944 had a 2.4 liter inline-4 engine mounted in the front and the transmission mounted in the back, giving the car unparalleled balance front to back. A lot of Porsche purists called the 944 a poor man's 911, as it was supposed to be a more affordable 911. Though different than the 911 in almost every single way, with the pop-up headlights, the inline-4 engine instead of the flat-6 engine, and the engine mounted in the front and not the rear, it was still a very capable car on the track. The naturally aspirated version was not particularly fast or quick, but the turbo version could give any car a run for its money around the track. The original engine cranked out 163 horsepower, but that dropped down to 150 once the catalytic converters were installed, as per North American standards. In 1985, the turbo version was introduced and the horsepower bumped up to 220. In 1988, the naturally aspirated version had its engine upgraded and it could pump out 160 horsepower with the catalytic converters installed. In 1989, the last model year for the 944, saw its engine displacement increase to 2.7 liters and the horsepower increased by 5 ponies, giving it 165 horsepower. The S version was available between 1987 and 1988, and that one could pump out 190 horsepower. In 1989, the S2 was introduced and was available until 1991. The S2 was a successor to the S and had an increase in displacement to a 3.4 liter 4-valve engine, turning out 211 horsepower. This type of performance was almost on par with the 944 Turbo, which, if you remember, pumped out 220 horsepower. A 3-liter inline-4 is one of the largest inline-4 engines in road cars. Most inline-4s don't go over 2.4 liters. When an inline-4 engine displacement is higher than 2.4 liters or so, it runs a risk of becoming unbalanced, and that means the car will require balanced shafts and in general become less reliable. Another problem is that the 944 has many plastic parts, which in extremely hot weather do tend to break and need replacement. As we all know, Porsche parts aren't cheap, especially for classic Porsches. Luckily, Porsche does have a classic parts catalog where you can order parts for just about any Porsche of any year, but of course they do come at a price. As with any old car, maintenance will most likely be more expensive than on a new or even a 10-year-old car. So if you're thinking of purchasing a 944, make sure you have some cash saved up for maintenance. Looking online at forums, it does seem like maintenance for a 944 will run you between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on how well maintained your car is. Of course, if your car is in meticulous shape, you can get away with regular oil changes and regular maintenance, which should run you about $500 a year. But think of it as any other older car. If not maintained correctly, it could become a huge money pit, and that is a nightmare scenario, especially with an old Porsche. So what are my thoughts on the 944? Well, I personally really like it. It has that 80s look, which a lot of people may find kind of off-putting with the pop-up headlights and everything, but I'm kind of into that. It is, I would say, too old for me, just because I don't think I'd be able to take care of it as well as somebody who's more financially sound. That's part of the reason I bought this Boxster, is that maintenance fees are actually not too bad, and even oil changes are very affordable. The Boxster is my daily driver, so I'd imagine daily driving a 944 would be a lot more difficult. Guys, thank you for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. If you liked it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments, what do you think about the 944? Do you think that it's a poor man's 911, or do you think it has potential to become a really great classic? Or has it already become a really great classic? In my eyes, when I see a 944, I think, wow, that's amazing. That's a great looking car. It's been maintained, obviously, since it's like 30 years old by now. I do like the history that Porsche puts into their vehicles. I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that the 944 deserves to be in the books of great Porsches? Or do you think that it's a one-off that Porsche really shouldn't have done? Kind of like the 914 that they did with Volkswagen, which I might do a separate video on, because that is an interesting car as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching again. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time.